Hello. Say a friendly hello if you're here. I would love to acknowledge you. Thank you so much, Down Cushy's Rabbit Hole, making burgers. I wouldn't mind having one of them. And I would say hello to you, Kiki. To be back. Just want to say hello, and I'll say hello to you as well. And thank you for y'all's support and coming here. For coming here. Thought this was interesting. As I was laying in bed last night, I had come across this article where, after facing accusations of raping a female inmate, Maury County Correctional Officer remains on the job. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start talking, showing the articles. I have to show the proof behind what I'm saying. It's only right. This guy right here, facing accusations of raping an inmate. Maury County Correctional Facility officer remains on the job. What gets me here also is that, hey there, hey Merle, hi Jackie Cunningham, glad to see y'all here. And my friend Merle used to work with the prison system, and so he knows that this is not one. You're not supposed to still be on the job when you are accused of such a crime. Sheriff Bucky Rowland confirmed to WSMB investigates the officer is temporarily supervising, excuse me, male inmates. And I have to be sure to go over here also, go back and go to share my banners, okay? It likes to mess up, I'm sorry. I'm going to share this. The copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal tips the balance in favor of fair use. And I want everybody to, bow their heads a little bit and say a silent prayer for the missing kids. There's too many that's missing and lost, and they're exploited as well. Still with even Summer Wells. Bigger home safely. Many others, Joe Clyde Daniels. Lucky. There's many names we cannot mention. Oh, Lord. Please help us find them and bring these sweethearts back to us. Thank you, dear Lord. Question, amen. Okay. Somebody gave me that, so maybe we need to say, the ones that believe, say a quick prayer or so before we really began. So I thought that was a good idea. Columbia, Tennessee. This was published April the 7th, and so this is April the 8th. In Columbia, Tennessee, facing accusations of raping an inmate as well as a federal criminal charge, a Maury County correctional officer continues to work with inmates at the direction of the sheriff. At the direction of the sheriff, you all. The sheriff is. Did you not say that there was certain regulations that's supposed to happen when they do this crime? They're not supposed to work, right, Merle? I think he was working in Nashville before. Now, y'all remember when Elizabeth Thomas was missing in Tennessee, and there was a big thing going on for her whereabouts, and Tad Cummins was the school teacher that had taken her away. But anyway, Elizabeth Thomas is James Thomas's sister. He was actually the person taking care of Elizabeth when she got back from with Tad Cummins. Cummins ultimately pled guilty to transporting a minor across state lines for the purpose of engaging in criminal sexual conduct. After Elizabeth was rescued, her brother James was named her custodian. Because of policies and rules, he can't do that. He's going against the violation. Exactly, and the sheriff is as well. When they're going against this type of thing, he's going against it legally, so he could end up getting in trouble as well. But in 2018, WSMV 4 investigates exposed that James Thomas, a longtime correctional officer in the Maury County Jail, was accused of raping an inmate, an accusation corroborated by one of Thomas's fellow correctional officers. So it was not just told by the lady that was by the inmate that this was done. It was corroborated by one of his coworkers. 4 years later, Thomas was indicted on a federal charge for falsifying a report in connection to alleged unwanted sexual contact with the inmate. But Thomas's personnel file, obtained by WSMV 4 investigates, shows he still works as a correctional officer for the Maury County Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Bucky Rowland confirmed to WSMV 4 investigates that Thomas is temporarily supervising male inmates picking up litter, but is not allowed to supervise female inmates, nor has access to the jail. Those job duties or restrictions, however, are not reflected in his personnel file. That's a big problem there, isn't it? Just because the sheriff says that that's what he's doing does not necessarily mean that's what he's doing. Those job duties or restrictions, however, like I said, are not in his personnel file. This is a man who faces an incredibly serious federal charge, and yet he remains on the payroll. And then Sheriff Rowland's comments, it's my belief that once he'll be educated, he'll be cleared of any wrongdoing. But he done pled guilty. How's that going to be clear? I mean, he done pled guilty up here. Oh, sorry, that's a common thing. But well, he's already got the other people right here. That accusation corroborated by one of Thomas's fellow correctional officers. And I can't help but wonder. I don't want to put another crime on him or anything, but you just can't help but wonder when somebody's a rapist and you got a girl living in your home you're supposed to take care of. You can't help but wonder still, though. You know what I'm saying? You, you just can't help but wonder. The file also shows just before being indicted, Thomas was also given a raise. While Thomas is innocent until proven guilty, Verna Wyatt, a victim's advocate, said allowing Thomas to continue to work with inmates is problematic. Yes, he should be in jail himself. I think it might send a message anything goes, and that's not the message you want sent, White said. Zero tolerance. That's what you want. Rowland, who would not agree to an interview on camera, described Thomas supervising inmates on litter duty using an old saying about making the best out of a bad situation. Well, don't you think it's a worse situation that you did this to an inmate? It's a worse situation that you falsified documents concerning this incident. Don't you go and say making the best out of a bad situation. You're making it worse by patting him on the back and saying he's gonna be he's not gonna be convicted of it, basically. You're making it worse for everybody. Hello, get to know. Good to see you. Then Roland says, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Supervising inmates on litter duty has served him well for a period of time until he can get this behind him. Until he can get this behind him, raping an inmate? Until he can get this behind him? Excuse me? So you're telling us that there's a possibility that you're going to go ahead and put this rapist back over there where he can rape some more? Is that what you're telling us? Excuse me? You're a sorry excuse for a sheriff. Watt said a sheriff is making a risky decision. Yes, he is. You have a victim who has made an allegation. You have another correctional officer that supports the victim. And you have the FBI saying, hey, I think there's something here. Wyatt said, for me, I think it would be a liability to keep that person on. Thomas's trial is slated to begin on April 25th. Yeah, I'll tell it like it is, one. I'll tell it like it is. That's for sure. Then it's got right here where he was actually charged. Hi, Kiki. Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Where he's been charged with falsified records about sexual contact with an inmate. He's actually went and told his other people that she came on to him. She made advances at him. But Darby McCarthy posted 3:37 p.m. May 28, 2022. And Columbia, Tennessee is just about, I would say about 20 to 30 minutes from me. Yeah, please don't kick mine. Don't be kicked enough. We get ready to kick this person's butt, aren't we? Columbia, Tennessee, Maury County Corrections Officer James Stewart Thomas, 31, was charged with obstructing an investigation into allegation that he had non-consensual sexual contact with a female inmate in his custody. According to the indictment by a federal grand jury, Thomas wrote on an official report in which he falsely claimed that he had reported to two Maury County jail supervisors about an inmate who had made sexual advances toward him while she was in his custody at a hospital. Oh, at a hospital? That's when she supposedly done this? At a hospital? So he was allowed to be the one who was in a hospital with her, possibly trying to prove about that she was done this way, that she was raped. To me, that's the way I get it. Why was he allowed to be at the hospital with her? That does not make sense to me. The report falsely claimed that the supervisors then advised him not to write about the inmate's alleged sexual advances. The report admitted his sexual relationship with the inmate after her release from custody of the jail. It convicted Thomas faces up to 20 years in prison. Oh man, y'all. I'm sorry. I am really, really ticked off about this. Thank you, bro. And then it's got more on this where it validates what I was saying earlier about the corrections officer and custodian. A teen infamously kidnapped by Tennessee teacher now faces federal charges for lying about raping an inmate. We are all about speaking out against these type of things happen. And look at him. He's been someone in the prison system. He was Elizabeth Thomas's, he was in charge of her custodian. That she was kidnapped from Tad Cummins, the school teacher. It really is. It's outrageous, ain't it? See, that's where a county corrections officer who was appointed to care for the Tennessee teen who was kidnapped by her teacher and taken across state lines for sex has now himself been indicted for lying about alleged sexual abuse of an inmate. How do we not know, with him having this kind of bullcrap about raping somebody, how do we not know he did not attack his sister as well when he's in her custody, when she's in his custody? That's according to federal court documents and a report by national NBC affiliate. Well, that's just something we think of. We that have been abused, we that have been attacked, the sexual abuse, we automatically think that way. So don't try to hold on and try to fuss at me about thinking that way. Well, maybe if some of you perverts and predators didn't do these heinous actions to me and I was kind of think, I would not think that way. And you know what? You're probably making other people think this way as well, not just me. The jailers, James Stewart Thomas, 31 of Columbia, Tennessee, is accused of one count of falsifying records in connection with the alleged rape for the inmate, according to the U.S. Department of Justice. Thomas is the brother and legal custodian of Elizabeth Thomas, the then 15-year-old who vanished with her then 50-year-old teacher, Tad Cummins, who vanished, yeah, on March 13, 2017. The student was rescued on April 20th, 2017, after a nationwide Amber Alert. She and Cummins were holed up in what the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation described as a rural cabin near Cecilville, California. And he was married too, by the way. You remember that? You remember that, Merle? Does anybody remember about this case? That he was actually married and he had kids, and he was actually kissing this student in the classroom. Other classmates had seen him doing that to her. But whatever, if she kissed him back, she's still a minor. You're still the one in charge. You're still the one that's the pervert, the kidnapper, the sex abuser. Cummins pled guilty to federal charges of transporting a minor across state lines for the purpose of engaging in criminal sexual conduct and obstruction of justice oh, in April 2018. Federal prosecutors wrote in a sentencing memorandum that Cummins groomed the victim, performed sex acts on her in his classroom closet. Oh man, I didn't know that. And then made plans to run away with her. Cummins researched the type of bed that would fit into the back of a Nissan Rogue, his wife's vehicle, looked up child marriage laws online, and took out a $4,500 loan to cover travel expenses and fill in his prescription for Cialis, a drug commonly used to treat erectile dysfunction and prolong sexual performance. Federal prosecutors wrote Cummins then disabled his vehicle's GPS, destroyed cell phones, and went to other extreme measures to evade law enforcement, including altering his and the victim's appearances, using false aliases, and representing the others that he was married to the victim, the prosecutors told a judge. Federal judge in Tennessee sentenced Cummins to 20 years in prison. You know what? You need more than 20 years of prison, dude. You went there, worked in the school. How many other people have you victimized besides her? How many others? There can't be just one. There has to be others. I'm glad that you're here, and thanks for coming. Good to know. The victimized student wrote to the court that Cummins should not be allowed to return to the general population, both for her safety and for other children's safety. All right. Did y'all take note of that? All along, other people were trying to say that she could not wait till he got out of jail and they'd be together, right? Instead, now I'm seeing where it says the victimized student wrote to the court that Cummins should not be allowed to return to the general population, both for her safety and for other children's safety. Right on, girl. Right on. You tell it like it is. Exactly. That's what I wonder too. Well, they're not, and they even got these new child sexual abuse laws here in Tennessee that it's supposed to even be longer than that. Why are they just getting slaps on the wrist? Even if is made to stay on house arrest, just knowing he will be near me terrifies me, Elizabeth Thomas wrote to the court. I will I have worked very hard over the last 3 years to move past the very dark time of my life involving Chad Cummins. If I have to live in constant fear again, I feel like all that would be for nothing. The court ordered that he go to prison, and that is where he belongs, she says. Thank you so much. You are to be commended. You are to be respected. And I hope people do not look you up. I hope they let you have your privacy in your life. You had enough trouble being the life that you had. You deserve to be left alone. The victim's brother, James Thomas, became Elizabeth Thomas's legal custodian after her rescue, according to WSMV. Now, James Thomas is facing charges for allegedly covering up his own rape of an inmate at the jail where he worked. Exactly, exactly. I think how long did Romney's son get for what he had done? I think he just got that. It's supposed to be a sentence for 20 years, and all he had to do was did he even serve a year? WSMV chief investigative reporter Jeremy Finley said that he uncovered the alleged rape back in 2018. The local district attorney launched an investigation, Finley reported this week. However, the investigative reporter said it was unclear why it took 4 years for the defendant Thomas to actually face charges. Because the sheriff was helping cover the dang thing up. Don't you understand that? The sheriff was saying he's innocent. The sheriff was covering it up. Excuse me. Said, why? Was was it actually, why was he charged? And he was even given a raise. Got sentenced to 20 years and only had to do one, and he's already at home with a child. Oh, he's at home with a child, he heard? Oh my goodness. He should not even be around any children. Federal prosecutors say James Thomas was a corrections officer at the Maury County Jail. The county website lists him as a FTO, likely an acronym for Field Training Officer on the night shift at the facility. Here's how the DOJ summarized the allegations. According to the indictment, Thomas wrote an official report in which he falsely claimed that he had reported to two Maury County jail supervisors that an inmate had made sexual advances toward him while the inmate was in his custody at a hospital. Falsely claimed that those two Maury County jail supervisors both advised him not to write a report about those alleged sexual advances by the inmate and omitted, admitted that he had a sexual relationship with an inmate after the inmate's release from the custody of the Maury County Jail. If convicted, Thomas faces a sentence of up to 20 years in prison, the DOJ said. An indictment says Thomas's falsified an incident report which responded to allegations that he had non-consensual sexual contact with CC, a female inmate, in his custody. And that is Thomas falsified. This is where the all in violation of Title 18 United States Code Section 1519. That is Thomas falsified his supplement to jail incident report number 208-0819, responding to allegation that Thomas had non-consensual sexual contact with CC, a female inmate in his custody, by one, falsely claiming that he had reported to Maury County jail supervisors RT and DW and that CC had made sexual advances toward Thomas while CC was in his custody at the hospital. 2. Falsely claiming that Maury County Jail Supervisors RT and DW both advised Thomas not to write a report about those alleged sexual advances by CC toward Thomas. And 3. Admit that he had a sexual relationship with CC after CC's release from custody for the Maury County Jail. That's the section of James Stewart Thomas's federal indictment lays out the basis of the charge. Okay, trying to get that back. All right. That's where the system is failing exactly. Buddy Lawson said 19 years probation. That's not right at all. And he's still with doing I'm gonna see if y'all are able, once I put this on, it's not gonna let me go ahead and speak, so I'm letting y'all know when this video starts, I want y'all to put a 1 up if y'all do.
Investigation that gripped the nation in 2017.
You may remember the story of Elizabeth Thomas. The 15-year-old student from Maury County disappeared with her then 51-year-old teacher, Tad Cummins. It triggered a nationwide Amber Alert that lasted weeks until she was found in California. Cummins later pleaded guilty to taking her across state lines for sex.
Now, she was still a minor at the time. Her guardian was her older brother, James Thomas, a correctional officer at the Maury County Jail. But in 2018, News 4 Investigates uncovered how James, while caring for his sister, was accused of having sex with an inmate and covering it up.
4 years after our chief investigative reporter Jeremy Finley exposed it, James Thomas was arrested by the FBI today after being indicted for falsifying records of his sexual contact with the inmate.
So, Jeremy, why did it take so long for this to happen?
Yeah, Tracy, we don't quite know yet. When we first uncovered this in 2018, the Maury County District Attorney then launched his own investigation. We heard nothing about it until today. That's when we learned that Thomas was indicted on the federal level 4 years after his attorney denied he did anything wrong. Here is how it all unfolded. Back in 2017, for a community shaken by the kidnapping of Elizabeth Thomas, it was welcome news that she was safe under the care of her older brother, James, a longtime correctional officer in the county jail. But for these two women, the news of who was Elizabeth's custodian was chilling.
He is a sexual predator.
Should he be caring for this girl?
No, he shouldn't care for anyone.
This former co-worker of James Thomas, herself once a correctional officer, had sent this letter to the DA claiming Thomas raped an inmate.
He said, I would go to the federal penitentiary for what I've done. I observed video.
You've seen video of him going into her cell?
Yes. There is no doubt in my mind there was a sexual relationship happening.
Claims strongly disputed at the time by Thomas's attorney.
In no uncertain terms, he absolutely denies that there was ever any physical contact between him and this woman while she was in jail. Period.
I'd wake up and he'd be standing there in the middle of our cell, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Former inmate Carissa Christ told News 4 Investigates Thomas raped her several times 2 years earlier.
When it's an inmate's word against an officer, the inmate's always wrong.
She says she was raped.
And she was, because she was an inmate. There's no such thing as consensual sex inside a jail facility.
How can two women who have never discussed this with each other both say that he committed this crime?
I can't speak to what their motives are, just like I can't speak to why this is coming up now, allegedly 2 years after the fact.
I went and reported it.
But the former coworker says she didn't wait 2 years to report it, that she told her supervisor and wrote detailed incident reports on how often Thomas was entering Christ's cell. The sheriff's office wouldn't interview at the time because of the DA investigation, but said they could find no evidence of incident reports or anything noted in the computer of Thomas going into Christ's cell. But look at the press release from today's arrest. Thomas is charged with writing an official report. falsely claiming that Christ made sexual advances towards him, and that 2 jail supervisors advised him not to write that report about those false sexual advances, and that the report Thomas wrote omitted the fact that he'd had sexual relations with Christ after she was released from jail.
Okay, Jeremy, I want to make this very clear. So in 2018, the sheriff's office told you they could not find a report of any kind about Thomas and the inmate, but the indictment says that Thomas himself wrote a report and lied in the contents of that report?
Right, so that's where we are tonight. That's the question we have tonight. If there wasn't a report back then, why did the U.S. Attorney's Office now say there was a report that Thomas himself wrote? So we did reach out to the sheriff and his chief deputy for comment. They did not respond by our deadline. Thomas's attorney, Jason Watley, sent me a text tonight saying that his client is a good man and a decent man, and that the truth will ultimately prevail. Thomas did enter a not guilty plea in federal court today, and he was released. Tracy?
Jeremy Finley tonight. Thank you. And
Wow. What y'all think about that? Yes, and he watched. I mean, that lady saw, what was going on, and she made reports on it, and it seems like that sheriff is probably the one responsible for doing away with her write-ups stuff. What? Really? You remember that the guards in Hawkins County Jail made the girls undress and do things to each other? Oh my goodness. That's not good at all. I wouldn't put it past. I would not put it past anything like that happening. Man. And it's crappy, because these people, it reminds me of the lawyers that my ex-husband had, yet he wasn't the abuser and I wasn't the abuser. And, I'm sure they would say something like, I'm not sure what you would say something like that because there's no record of it. Of course, there's not no records of it because y'all never did anything about it. It's covered up. Of course. I done lived this life so long, I already know. It's a lot of us survivors, we know that a lot of this stuff gets swept under the rug. That we're left with feeling guilty, shame, dirty, feel like we didn't do enough, we could have done more, and yet it wasn't our fault. It was the responsibility of the parents to take care of us, not do these actions and stuff. I know, Burrow, I'm a little jealous of you tonight since you're fixing to go to the steakhouse. But y'all, what do you didn't understand? Why is it now just being brought up? Why is it now? Well, guess what? It was brought up before, right? It was brought up before, but y'all disregarded the claims. Y'all disposed of them, and y'all hoped that this would not come about. But thank God for whoever this was, like I said, that had done this, that had found this out and brought it to light. He's now going to have to pay. So yes, of course, now he wants to plead innocence. He wants to plead like I'm not guilty. He don't want to do away with what he's been getting. Um, and it's a shame. It's a total shame. And sometimes, when somebody gets put out of jail, they got nowhere to go, and it makes me wonder if he supplied possibly her a place to stay, and that's why there was a relationship afterwards. Don't know, but that's not a worry as much as it is about him doing that while she was in jail. He victimized her repeatedly. And yes, a lot of times the inmate will not be believed. Got that right. I've heard too many cases of that. I want to thank y'all for coming, and remember to keep the missing and all these people in your thoughts and prayers. This is a tough bout with everything that's going on. And I'm glad I did further research to find out that about Elizabeth, where she doesn't want nothing else to do with that Cummins guy. Thank God for that. Thank God that she said that she feels in danger of him. A lot of times after we get victimized, a lot of times we feel sorry for the perpetrators. Like I felt sorry for my dad. Um, I guess that's just common when it's like a parent or whatever. You want things to be different than what they are. You want things to change. You want it to get better. But now we can use our stories and help others. And Kiki, you are one strong lady. You are truly admired. And Merle, thank you so much for coming on so much and being able to. Exactly, they do. That's right. Try to keep things private to save their own butts. That's right. Then they kind of try to make everybody else seem like they're it's it's like they're a narcissist, when they're not. And it's kind of bad when they are the police, when they're the law themselves, and who are they serving and protecting? That's what we got to think about. Who are they serving and protecting? Because I know they're not protecting that girl. They're serving and protecting their own butts. Exactly. Exactly. I kind of feel that way too, because in the Bible it did say that it's better to, like, I like that one verse that I share a lot of times when I first start out. I didn't share it today. I'll go ahead and share it now. It says, Luke 17, verse 2, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he cast to the sea than he should offend one of these little ones. You know? Exactly. The system is failing us big time, failing so many kids also. And I get tired of people thinking that when they were a kid, they'll get over it. Then you'll hear some people, they'll say something like, well, I hate to see when they grow up, this person's going to have trouble the rest of their life. But then when they see an adult that's having trouble because of the extent of the abuse of which happened to them, then they're so quick to condemn and to judge. They need to open their eyes. They need to be there for the person. We're not out here condemn as much as we are to open the eyes that this is happening too often. Yes, we're condemning in some ways that these people need to open their eyes and get the job done and protect the kids. You don't do your job, and you're the ones that's put in power to do the job, and you're not doing your job. There's a big major problem there, and I'm glad I don't have anything wood here because I'd probably hit it hard, and go bam right there. I don't know why that went out. Sorry, Merle. Your statement had went out for a minute. Well, as it says in the Bible, basically, too, if they do not come and they confess to you or apologize to you, that's not really up to us to really. I don't think we have to forgive in those times because we have to even go to God and ask for His forgiveness when we sin. So that's an example. So they're not coming to us apologizing. So I think we don't have to do that as well. We have to go after His example, and He don't forgive those that don't come to Him and truly are sorry. So you got a good point there. No, they won't never. No, they won't never forget that. Not at all. I believe they need to do that as well. Bring back the hanging in the middle of the street if you're proven without a doubt that they hurt a child. You got that right. And I will share that about, yeah, they need to keep things private to save their butts. That's true. God does understand that, Kiki. God does understand that. And I don't think I try to say that I forgive the people in my past, but I still do not want to be around. And I don't think forgiving is forgetting, because the fact how when they forgive in the Bible, they're still telling the people stories. So it's not a matter of forgive and forget. Because if you forget, you keep putting yourself back in that same situation repeatedly. You got people here that cares, Kiki, that understands as well. Merle's been a good friend of mine for a while, and he understands what I went through. He understands a lot of my story as well. And if you ever feel like sharing your story sometime, feel free. You don't have to if you don't want to. Just if you ever just want a voice to talk, some friendly ear to talk to, I'm here. Um, find me at Facebook as well. Know that you got some people that care about you, that genuinely care. It's kind of weird how we all look at forgiveness in different ways too. You got 10 grandbabies and 2 great grandbabies. Oh wow, that is amazing. Wow, I've been blessed with 2 boys that are alive, and I was blessed with even the one that lived temporarily, lived for a little while. I would still continue to say he was a blessing to me also. Um, and I was blessed with 3 grandbabies. How old is your youngest? My youngest grandbaby is 6 now, I believe. You're quite welcome, Kiki. I want you to know that you matter, and don't forget that. You matter, your life matters, and you are a good lady. Did you get to eat dinner? I think I'm gonna get me something quick in a few minutes. And get me about to eat. That stomach to quit growling. And but thank y'all so much for coming. And remember to keep Summer and all these other missing kids and stuff in your thoughts and prayers. Remember to pray for all your kids and their protections, no matter what goes on in life. We still need to pray. And I fervently believe in prayer helping. And God bless y'all and happy Easter. Have a great holiday weekend. I don't want to take your time anymore so that y'all can go spend it with the family. God bless y'all. Thank you.